All right, welcome everyone. I'm really excited this morning to have you all together, whatever time you happen to be tuning in. Maybe it's real time and maybe it's not, but we're excited to have you here. And this is Speaker Secrets, and we're having top experts share their best tools in confident communication, leading with the heart and getting a message to the masses. And today I'm so excited to be having John Gray here. He is world-renowned author. His first book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, came out and was just an amazing bestseller. It's helped so many people. And he's out with a new book now, which I'm super stoked about. It's called Beyond Mars and Venus, Relationship Skills for Today's Complex World. And I'm excited to hear more about that as well. And so, John, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I'm happy to be with you.
Yay, I'm so happy to have you here too. So what I've come to realize is how things have changed so much in life, and between the past 30 years that you've written your first book. So what I'm really curious is, what is it that you think is the biggest difference in communication that men and women are facing in their relationships today that differs from 30 years ago when you wrote your first book?
One of the big challenges today is communication has become more important than 30 years ago. I think in the 90s, communication became a big deal because people were realizing that the big problem in relationships was a breakdown in communication. Then something happened in the 2000s, with 9/11, and politics sort of dominated the whole thing. Our country went more into a place of fight or flight. The 90s was really a time of tremendous prosperity. And when people have prosperity and we're not at war, they feel safe. And when they feel safe, then your needs go to a higher level, which is communication. Because it's through communication that we can experience greater intimacy. And what happened as we went into this stage of more warfare in the world and fight or flight, everything's dominated by politics to a great extent and global problems. So when we're facing that as a major focal point, our own needs for intimacy become secondary. Okay, but when we're married, we fall in love, or when we're dating, we feel this attraction, and then we lose that attraction. So I'm going to focus not just communication in the workplace and with people like that, but mainly my specialty. It also goes into the workplace, but is intimacy. Today, we need intimacy more than ever because we have higher expectations. We want to have romance. We want to feel connection. We want to feel passion. And it's only through good communication that we can achieve that. And good communication, basically the bottom line of it is, you hear me and I hear you. We're connecting. What you are saying, I can resonate with inside of me. I feel, oh, I understand that. Oh, I accept that. There's no resistance to the other person. And this is a key factor. There's two factors. One is I have no resistance to what you're saying, and I have a sense of understanding where you're coming from. And that's the phrase validation. It's valid. Validation doesn't necessarily mean I agree with you. So what we have is, like in America, we have a huge partisan divide. If I disagree with you, then I resist you. As opposed to, well, I don't really agree with that, but I can see where you're coming from and I can understand. For example, my wife could say, oh, it's so stressful being on the freeway today. There's just so much traffic. And I can understand where she's coming from because she shared her feelings. But to me, it's not stressful. I just put on some nice music and enjoy myself, kind of meditate while I'm driving. So I wouldn't necessarily have the same experience as her, but I can relate to her having that experience because other things can cause stress to me. So connectedness is what we're looking for. And there's two places of disconnect. One is I don't have that experience. Another one is I resist what you're saying. So I think the prime thing we want to focus on in communication is resistance. Because if we resist, we'll never understand each other. So let's first look at resistance. And the second part of understanding is to realize that people are different. And not everybody thinks the way I do. Not everybody feels the way I do. And the bigger picture is that men and women particularly have a different slant on how they see the world, how they react to the world, how they respond to the world, which is a biological reaction. That's what's so cool in my new book. I'm able to look at how women's hormones are different than men's. And in order to find hormonal balance, she needs a certain kind of message from the man. And in order for him to achieve hormonal balance, he needs a particular message from her. That's the need for love. How does love show up for some people? It's different for others. And in general, that's true. But then when you look at men and women, there's some general categories where women need to feel special. They need to feel nurtured. They need to feel safe. I'm not saying I don't need that as a man as much, but she needs it more. And that's a really important thing, is a greater level of understanding that people come from different places. So hence the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. We have different perspectives on things. But resistance is a really key factor as well, which is that we tend to come from a place of, if I feel something, it's your fault. Because that is also true. If you punch me, I'll have a bruise. If I expect something from you and it doesn't come, I might feel disappointed. I might feel hurt. I might feel angry. These are all symptoms of some wounding that just went on. But the way we can overcome wounding or feeling at the effect of others is to realize you affect me, but I have the ability to change how I feel about that. Okay, I can learn to accept that. If I feel hurt, I can heal my hurt and let it go and give you another chance. If you've betrayed me, I can feel the betrayal, the disappointment. You were going to be on time and you said you would call and you didn't call, and I feel hurt. Why am I not so important? Then you can adjust. Okay, I feel the emotion. What other emotion do I feel? The body has an amazing capacity to have different emotions to release whatever pain there is. Emotions serve a purpose. So in good communication, what I would do if my wife is upset about something is I'd understand that she cannot hear what I have to say until she feels heard. Emotions come first, and women come first, because women have a greater need than men to express emotion. There's a very important distinction. And you can't have that distinction unless you understand men and women are different. And that this whole thing about hormones is that when women are unhappy, their estrogen levels need to be supported. And men don't need their estrogen levels to be supported. Men need their testosterone levels to be supported at times of difficulty. And that's significant.
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's like, so let's say my wife wants to be most loving to me. What she can do is create situations where I do something for her, and then she could go, oh, thanks. Or, oh, that's really helpful. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, what a good idea. Oh, you're right. Those little phrases, everyone likes to hear that. But what they feel good because they're expressions of love. But biologically, they stimulate the hormone testosterone. And men need to make 10 times to 50 times more testosterone than a woman. Otherwise, they're depressed. So you start recognizing that, love shows up biologically. Whereas if I ask my wife, I say, oh, well, you're upset about this. Tell me more about that. And I listen to her and I seek to understand, to truly understand, like, okay, why would that be upsetting to her? And tell me more. And what else? By listening without resisting, but seeking to understand, listening with curiosity, listening to understand, and not listening to fix. See, that's a big difference. If I'm a plumber, tell me what the problem is so I can fix it. But an intimate relationship is let me listen to you to understand. That's the objective. Let me understand so I can really see where you're coming from, because all you need as a woman in intimacy to fulfill that need is to have someone connect with you. Connection is so, so important. And so listening becomes more important for men to practice than for women to practice. Okay, so, you're teaching good communication, which means be a good listener. So you have a husband and wife, and the wife starts asking her husband questions. Well, he'll keep talking forever. And he doesn't have this sort of switch inside that says, okay, you've heard me, I'll listen to you. He actually becomes more yin yang, masculine, feminine. when you listen to a man for quite a while, particularly if he's sharing emotions and frustrations and disappointments and complaints and all of that, a woman will listen and listen and listen, thinking she's being loving and supportive. He also feels she's being loving and supportive, but it's actually like giving him something that makes him unhealthy. Like if I eat too much sugar, that feels good, right? Everybody wants some ice cream. Oh, ice cream, ice cream. But bang, I start gaining all this weight. Not a good thing. So many things that feel good are not good for us. So listening to a man complain is not healthy for a man, nor is it healthy for a woman, because what she'll do is feel, I listen to him, but he's not listening to me. Generally speaking, when it comes to being heard, that is our female side. Now, it's not like I'm heartless. I also want to be heard, but I recognize I have a female side as a man, but she has a male female side. And if she's listening to me all the time, we'll just exaggerate this a little bit to make the point. If I'm the one who comes home and talks and talks and talks, she's going to say, I have no time to listen. I have to fix this and do this and do this. She'll become more masculine.
Wow.
One of the big symptoms of women today is they become too masculine. Their mind is always saying, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And they can't shut it off. They're going, oh, I love to do this. I like to do this. I enjoy this. So what gets in the way of women being in touch with their female side, their happy side, their loving side, their at peace side? That's yin energy. That's femininity. That's happiness. What keeps her from going there is she's too far on her male side, fixing, solving, penetrating, doing this, accomplishing. And so what we want is a balance, and communication is the most powerful way for women to achieve that balance if they have someone listen to them. And so to listen to a woman who's been too far on her male side means that maybe it's going to sound irrational, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the irony of this is Freud figured this out a long time ago. It's a pretty simple concept. It was the basis of psychology, that when you have an emotion and you can't express it, it comes up, but you have to hide it. That's being a confident, successful woman in the world. You know, you're solving problems, you're fixing. Everybody knows to be successful, you have to not show your emotions. You have to be confident all the time. You can't be afraid. You can't be disappointed. You can't feel sad. You can't. That's not the workplace. So, but that is the female side of us. Men have a female side too. Women have a female side too. But for women, it's paramount. The problem for women today is too far on their male side, not too far on their female side. For men, the problem is they're too far on their female side. They want to play. They lose their motivation. They're drinking too much, playing too much. They don't have energy for the relationship at home. They've sort of lost it. That's what women say all the time. You know, I feel neglected. He's not interested in me. He's bored when I talk to him, so forth. But part of why he's bored when you talk is that you'll start expressing problems, and he doesn't know that you just need to be heard. He thinks you need to be fixed.
Right. That seems to be a big difference, where the men are always wanting to fix things, and when women just kind of want to get it out and be heard and understood and held, maybe even, and just given that space to be vulnerable and express themselves.
So nicely put. And now here's the catch with it. When women have upsets, we'll call it stress, all that vulnerability. Oh, I'm disappointed about this. I feel sad about this. I'm concerned about this. I'm afraid about this. Is vulnerability. Why is that vulnerability? Because you're revealing a part of you that you don't reveal to anybody else. It's also opening your heart and showing what's inside. It's like undressing. Mm-hmm. And when you undress and somebody's critical of your body, it hurts a lot. So you can't have anybody be critical of you at that time. That's why it's vulnerable. Is that, oh, you know, I need your love and support at this time. I'm going to reveal something that maybe could be criticized. And the irony there is that it's easy to criticize it if you don't understand women, because emotions don't always make sense. If something doesn't make sense, it's illogical. If somebody's really illogical, then they're crazy. So if you really reveal what's inside, a man can just go, you're crazy, you know, and we say it 100 times a day in a sense, and we don't realize we're saying this to women. But she could be upset about something, and we say, you're making a big deal out of that. Why are you making such a big deal? Or that's not a problem. Or why are you saying that? Why are you being negative? Why can't you just be happy? Why can't you just enjoy our life together? It's so much nicer. And of course it is for him. There's nothing better for a man than a happy woman, because happiness is also vulnerability. See, happiness, vulnerability is basically saying, I'm going to reveal to you what I need. And if you don't give it to me, then it will hurt. So if I say, oh, I need your love, and you go, well, you can't have it, that's going to hurt. So it hurts a lot less if you just don't say, I need your love. You just ignore that. So you're basically revealing, I am a vulnerable person, which means I'm affected by what you say or do. A stranger, I'm not vulnerable to them. They can say whatever they want. I don't care. But now suddenly with someone, I say, oh, you affect me. I'm letting you have influence on me. That's what intimacy is really letting somebody in where their words can make a difference. And so basically, when you're happy as a woman, that means, oh, you made me happy. That's vulnerability. So men love happy women, but men haven't learned to understand that women are not always going to be happy. And so if she opens her heart to share some things she's not happy about, and men get all bent out of shape, and they don't understand the emotional vulnerability and intensity that lies within women. And when I say that, this is every woman. If you have your period, then you have your emotions are going up and down all month. Okay, your estrogen levels are rising, then they go down. Progesterone goes up, then estrogen comes back up. And when you have estrogen, you have more emotion. That's just what it is. And men don't understand that if a woman can talk about her feelings and emotions, that by talking about them, she will feel connection. And when she feels connection, then her heart opens. She has positive feelings again. You don't have to fix her. You don't have to solve her. But what she needs is to feel penetrated. Penetration. It's like sex. Feels really good in sex if you're open-hearted to be penetrated. Oh, it feels fantastic if you're a woman. Then the same thing is emotionally, is if you open and someone penetrates, what does it mean? He connects. He goes inside of you, and you're sharing with him something that you wouldn't share with anybody else. So there's a hunger for that part of a woman to be seen, to be heard, and to be validated, and not be seen as overreacting, not be seen as crazy, not be seen as irrational, even though it could be, from another point of view, could be considered irrational. Okay, so that's what Freud did. He explained, and people need to come back to the basics of psychology, because this was one of the major things that he discovered, is it's just put into words. If you've had 10 bad things happen to you that day, then when you come home, if your partner maybe forgets to call you, your reaction is going to be 10 times bigger. Simple. It's simple logic. So men don't understand this. If their partner's having a negative reaction to them more than usual, he goes, why are you reacting that way? Well, there could be 10 other things that are bothering her that day, and it builds up. Now, this is true of men as well.
Absolutely.
He found it with men, with women. It's just that what my work points out, it's going to be more important for women to talk about those feelings, because then she's going to feel the connection. Now, men, they feel connection as well. They need connection by penetrating. See, there's two ways to connect. One is she goes into him and listens to him. She's penetrating him. That makes him more feminine. He needs to be more masculine. Whenever men are depressed, whenever men are stressed, their estrogen levels are higher than their testosterone. If his testosterone comes up, his estrogen goes down, he now feels good. When women are stressed, their testosterone levels are being produced and their estrogen is low. She doesn't have high testosterone. It says she's making testosterone, but not making estrogen in that moment. Every second we're making hormones, like that. So what you say or do triggers certain hormone responses. And what we know about a woman's body is that for her well-being and happiness, she needs a certain balance of hormones. When her estrogen goes too low, her mind becomes too busy. She becomes too stressed. So if we have a couple who are stressed from the day, we want to come together to find comfort. We want to come together to let go of the day. We have a relationship that soothes our soul. We hunger for that. But for her, she needs connection. she needs to go, if she goes into him, she's the penetrating influence. Her male energy increases, not her female. If she can connect by having him come into her, now estrogen gets produced, estrogen being produced. And when men can go in and feel successful, then testosterone goes up. So for me to feel successful at home, I need to know that I have a positive influence on my partner. And particularly today, communication is the number one way to either feel successful or to not feel successful. Communication is the answer, or communication is the problem. If it's too much of women listening to men, it becomes a problem. If it's too much of men telling women not to feel what they feel, then it becomes a problem. If it's women being too busy and living in the head and not being able to come into the emotions, into the heart, and this is where women live a lot today. They don't know how to come into the vulnerable feelings because they're afraid that he will try to fix her. It's just, I have to think of a story with my one of my daughters. I would help her with her math homework until when she got to college, she'd had the highest level of math skills possible. She was amazing. But she would say to me as a little girl, oh, I can't do math. So I would sit and do math with her until she could really do really, really well. So during that journey around 8th grade, I'd have to read the chapter in the book to figure out the math problems. It was, you have to remember algebra formulas or whatever. I could do it, but not without reading the chapter. So I was doing homework with her one time, and my brother who was there, he's like a PhD in math, and he's like really good at it. He didn't have to read the chapter. So I'm like getting him to do it. So my daughter says, okay, well, here's the problem. What should I do? And his reaction to her when she said, here's the problem, what should I do, that she was struggling with, he says, oh, that's easy. As soon as he said, that's easy, my daughter doesn't want to talk to him ever again, okay? Because, oh, it's easy for you, then something must be wrong with me that it's not easy for me. And everybody can get that example, of course. So my brother is what men do all the time with women, and they don't realize it. Certainly my brother wasn't giving the message that something's wrong with her, but for him, that's easy. So when a woman reacts to something and a guy says, oh, don't worry about it. Oh, that's not a big deal. Oh, no problem. That is pushing the woman down. It's disparaging. It's invalidating. It makes her feel like, I don't want to share with you what's going on inside. But men are going to have that reaction. And so how to change that through a communication skill. So this is where the advanced communication skills come in, to where we can be more authentic and our partners can hear it in the right way. And it comes down to some basic phrases like, oh, I'm going to be the woman for a moment. Okay. I had a hard day today. I just want to talk about it. So much goes on in my life, and, you're like way far away, you're doing your own thing. And I want to just feel more connected with you. I just want you to understand what I go through. And also, if I can share some of my frustrations, I'll feel more connected to you. And then I feel better. I can let it go. I don't really need any solutions. I really like my job. I can handle it. But sometimes I have all these feelings building up. So if I can just talk about them and you just listen, I'll feel like you understand me, connect with me, and then I'll feel better. Then I'll be happy. And most guys, if you say, then I'll feel better and I'll be happy, they're willing to do it. And then you could say, and it will only take about 5 or 10 minutes. Just be quiet. Don't say anything. Just look at me and listen, and maybe show some interest if you can. That's, so not demanding it. And, you start to share and talk and continue more. And you can say to them, occasionally you can say, tell me more, what else, and that helps me to connect with my day. But if I can do that, it might sound like complaining, but actually I'm just letting it go. And then he does it. And if you do this technique, I call it a Venus talk. Then if you do that, then after about 5 or 10 minutes, you'd start to say some positive things like, oh, but I really do love my job. I'm really grateful for it. And this other wonderful thing did happen. And I have such a great life. To come back to some positive feeling. This is teaching him something, that when women can share negative feelings, they will always come back to positive feelings if they feel heard. Now, why do they feel heard? Because why does it take away the negativity? because negativity arises in our brain. We focus on negative things when our hormones are out of balance. And when women can talk and feel heard, their estrogen levels will increase, or their progesterone, whatever needs to happen at that time. If she's getting her basic feminine need met, which is to feel seen, to feel validated, to feel heard, to feel understood, and to feel that somebody cares, and also that she doesn't have to hide herself. In a sense, she is emotionally undressing in front of her partner, but he has to learn the manners. You know, if your wife is naked, you don't say, honey, you're fat. Okay, you just never say that. And the flip side of that is, I have to balance this a little bit. If your husband takes you on a date, you can say, that's the worst movie I've ever seen. Not a good time to say that.
Yeah.
He's providing something for you. That's when his heart is open the most. That's when he's wanting to make you happy the most. That's not a good time to sound critical of what he's provided. Well, when a woman is being vulnerable, that's not a time for a man to ever say anything disparaging or that could be taken disparaging. When my brother said, oh, that's easy, he certainly had no idea that my daughter would take it that way. So men have to learn the manners of dealing with vulnerability. Women have to learn to communicate to him what those manners are. See, that's part of communication, is never expect your partner or require your partner to know how to treat you. You have to let them know. And then you have to let them know again and again, particularly if it's one of these things that it's not automatic for them to do. So you say, I just need you to listen. You don't have to say anything, do anything. I prefer just to connect with me. And then he might want to do that with you. He might say, okay, now I want to talk about my day. And I said, okay, you can do that. And, you know, you can do that somewhat. But if he starts complaining about too much, then he's going too far to his female side. Women have to know that it's natural for you to feel repulsed. Okay, that's natural.
Yeah, super interesting. Huh.
Well, it's hard to admit when you feel repulsed by your partner, but you will feel repulsed. It's kind of like disgusted or, oh God, but you'll want to pretend to be really interested in listening, because you want a man to be interested in listening to you. The last thing you want is someone to be repulsed by you. You want them to love you.
Right. So what can the female do in that instance? Because you definitely, you know, every human needs to be heard. So, but when they start to go down the downward spiral of the complaining, what can the woman or the female in the situation, that woman energy, because, you know, there's all sorts of sexual orientations out there, and different levels of male, female in the genders. You know, what would that female presence do to kind of bring him out and lead him back to the male?
Nicely said. So the reality of this is like an intimate relationship. Okay, we're talking intimate relationship. Yeah. Okay, balancing the energies in the relationship. What happens is, as soon as you start to be repulsed, what's occurring inside of you is you're now penetrating him more than he's penetrating you. It's just a signal that you can balance this out. You certainly have to realize, if he's on his female side, you can't just say, I'm so repulsed by you.
No, that would be.
You don't do that. But what you don't do, this is step one. There's many steps here. The first step is you don't reveal that, oh, this is disgusting, you sound terrible, I don't want to listen to you. No, you want to be kind. Always be kind is the first step. But don't overindulge in asking what else, tell me more, whatever. Just sort of be interested. Okay, so that's the first thing. Don't encourage it, because women do encourage it. Particularly when they feel repulsed, they feel guilty. I'm repulsed, so I should listen better. It happens, okay? So it's just like, okay, I have to really work at this, and I have to compensate for the fact that I don't want to listen to him by trying to listen more.
I feel like this has happened to me.
Yeah. It's a reality. It's a loving thing, but it's not the right direction to go in. It's like sugar. It feels good, but not always the best thing to be eating. A little bit is fine. Okay, so step one, notice what's happening, but don't overindulge in compensating and giving more. Oh, how's that going? And is it still happening? You know, when he came home from work, you say, oh, how did it happen? What happened today? You know, don't go further into that area. So that's the first step. Don't go further in. Second step is to recognize that if you're feeling repulsed, it's because he's not penetrating you more than you're penetrating him. Okay, this balance is trying to find the balance, looking for the signals. So what you would then do is say, the way I solve the problem of him talking too much or being too needy or being too emotional or too wimpy, whatever you might be feeling inside and feeling guilty about it, just know that he's just too far on his female side. You need to go there. You're not going there. You only resist in your partner what you resist in yourself. And the fact that you're repulsed by him makes it even harder for you to go there, because you'll assume that if I go to that needy place, he'll be repulsed by me. He won't. He won't. And it's just, you go over to that side, reveal a little bit more what's going on inside, and you say to your partner, this is your safe zone for women, or for the one on the female side if we're looking for alternative relationships. If you're trying to go to your female side, your partner, you have to alert them. You have to say, look, I need to just go to this place and talk for a while. It might not even make sense. It might sound negative. Just let it be. Try to understand where I'm coming from. If I can just sort of say it, it's like in the darkness inside, I want to bring it out into the light, and then I can make sense of it. You don't have to make sense of it. You don't have to fix it. This is like a little therapy you're doing for me. However you want, I said a bunch of variety of things that women could say, right. But it's giving the message to the man, don't speak. Don't speak. And you don't have to fix it. If you say don't speak, you don't have to fix it. You don't have to do anything about it. Then the judgments don't come up. A man goes, okay, my job is just to listen. And saying to a man, I just want you to listen, doesn't convey the information that he needs to hear. You have to buffer it, because when you have to buffer it with more explanation, meaning, I know you want to help me and you'll say things or whatever, and that's really nice. But right now what I'm needing is just sort of to get it out of me, and then I'll come back to my happy place. That's the explanation that you may have to give like for 5 years. Okay. It takes a long time for men to get that you don't have to fix everything, but you can actually just, you can fix the real problem, which is connection. Give her connection, not correction.
Connection, not correction.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. A simple little phrase there that help us remember for us men. And you just tell the man that. Remember, you don't have to say, if you don't have to fix anything, just relax, just be with me in this, and I'll feel better. That's what I'm really needing. Because all day long, I've got these feelings coming up, but I can't share them with anybody. And I want to share it with you. And I still remember the day when my wife told me, she was like, first of all, it was amazing because she was so happy to see me. Okay. Oh, you're here. And I'm waiting to hear some great news. And she says, oh gosh, so many things happened today. I want to just get it out, and then I'll feel better. Cause what a stressful day I had. Do you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes? I said, sure. Well, I just want to talk. I just want to get it out. You don't have to say anything. Matter of fact, I prefer you say nothing, because sometimes you give me great advice. I don't need any advice. I just want you to know what I go through, because you're such an important person to me. I want to connect with you. And so without you saying anything, I just want you to come in here, visit my world. And I just remember that day, because I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I visited her world, and I felt this huge need to like explain to her why she was upset over nothing, and you should do this, and you should tell him to do this, and that's not your job, and why you're taking on too much, and you don't have to do all that stuff. But I wasn't allowed to speak. A few times I interrupted. She said, no, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Just let me. And then she ended it. And that was really significant, because she ended it by just saying, I feel so good that you heard. And, all those problems are little problems. They're not a big deal at all. I just needed to share it. So that's one way to do it. Another way I'm just reminded of, this is like, to me, sometimes in my classes, my seminars, I say, I want you to write this down. This is the $1 million phrase for women. If you're upset about something and you want your partner to listen, and maybe he's part of the problem. That's always harder for men to listen when he's part of the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's just it's good to practice on other problems for him to learn this, but eventually you want to be able to share things about you feel about him. And so if he's part of the problem, so basically that means you want him to change, which is always the worst thing in relationships. Is communication is, I'm saying this so you'll change. And it's okay to have a preference that maybe you'll change, but I'm not demanding it. That makes it easier. But the way to communicate that to your partner, if you're wanting to share with them something is bothering you, this is the buffer phrase. So they're about to hear what may be not so easy for them. You want to lessen the resistance. Remember, I mentioned resistance and understanding differences and giving up resistance, helping your partner not to resist. If you're talking about a woman talking to a man, and this can be somewhat true with a man talking to a woman, major little phrase here, which is, I just want to talk and show you how I feel. I just want you to know it's not a big deal. Then you kind of go, ah. I know for men, but for some women as well, your partner says, we need to talk. Terrified. So, but you still have to say, I want to take some time to have a conversation. We could talk. I need to tell you something. It's not a big deal. You just immediately go to, or you could even start out with, it's not a big deal, but I just need to talk and share what happened the other day when you said you were going to come and you didn't come, and I made dinner for you. I want to talk about my feelings so you know what goes on inside of me. But I'm not demanding you to change or anything. I just want you to understand, because it's not a big deal. Now, some things are a big deal. Okay. Then you go to a therapist to talk about it, and you talk to your friends, you process your feelings. If it's a big deal, you don't talk to your partner. People always say, well, what if it is a big deal? Then don't talk to your partner, because it's a big deal. You're trying to change them. Anytime you push at your partner like this, they will resist back like that. So you have to come back to this place of, this is a big deal, but I'm coming from a place my heart is open. Okay. I want you to understand what's happening and so forth. So you got to get back to that place where you're not demanding change. You're just giving your partner information. That's what communication is I'm giving you the information so that if you can, or you're willing, or you want, you have the information to make the changes necessary, and you don't demand. Demanding change is a really tough thing for people to deal with when it comes to good communication. You can do it. You can do it about big things, but you first have to process your emotions so that you're coming in present time with your heart open, a willingness to trust again, a willingness to understand, a willingness to accept that nobody's perfect. These are the highest virtues of humanity, of what love is: acceptance, trust, caring, understanding, respecting, appreciating. You have to come back to that place where all that is accessible. Then you say, when you did this, or when I heard this, or when you say that. And that then comes to complaining. Okay, now we're on the subject of complaining and communication. The worst way to destroy communication, connection, resistance is complaining. But when I say give up complaining, well, how do I get my partner to change? And that's the whole thing. I had some very funny story. A friend of mine who teaches relationships, and I said, you just have to give up complaining. And she said, well, if there's nothing if I don't complain, what are we going to talk about? Because a complaint arises when there's a need that hasn't been met. And we need to communicate about that need, so you have the information to fulfill that need for me. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But because we don't have advanced communication skills, I'll say even human communication skills, we have monkey skills. If I'm not getting what I want, I put on a fierce face, or I cry. Oh, this is terrible. I have to use emotions to get what I want. Emotions actually help us to clarify our thinking and connect back to our soul. In the primitive brain, part of our brain's primitive, we use emotions to change other people. And the advanced part of our brain, we explore our emotions to change the way we think. So always sharing emotions should be to change me, to help me come back to more love. So that's a big subject on that. So I just sort of went off on that, but I want to go there. I kind of just forgot what I was just making the point. Complaining. Such a key thing, and I know our time is kind of running out, I think.
Yeah, we're getting closer. It's okay. We'll wrap up.
Okay, that's what I was feeling.
Yeah.
All right. Your mind power said, John, you have to finish up. Okay, we hit the 30-minute point. Okay, so best communication in a relationship has minimal amount of complaining. So a complaint is a request to change. So rather than ever focus on the negative to motivate our partner to change, that's what a complaint is. Oh, you never turn out the light. Well, you try to remember to turn out the light. You can turn it into the request from a positive statement. Honey, I see you turn out the light a lot. Sometimes you don't. Would you try to remember? That's it. Would you try to remember? It's a request. Every complaint just pushes your partner into resistance as opposed to a request.
Mm-hmm.
Think of how to buffer a request with something positive. You do a good job. Oh, would you try to do this? It would make me happy. So
Right.
it's sandwiched. So get rid of complaints. All complaints are requests, which need to be sandwiched with something positive and something at the other side. And just to have that awareness whenever you're complaining, you didn't do this, you're not that, why would you do this? All those kind of complaints will just get resistance. They don't work. What is it that I'm really wanting? What is my request? Always to come back to my request. And for women, a lot, requesting is hard because historically, they didn't have to request more from men. They would pick the man who already knew how to give them what they needed, because what they needed from a man was just a good job, basically. So you looked around for a good guy that was interested in you, and you said, okay, I found him. I don't need to change him, because changing someone really isn't loving them.
Right.
But giving them information that allows them to give you more is a love. It's giving him opportunity to be successful and so forth. So turn your complaints into requests. And if you're requesting more from your partner, limit it to one thing a week. Just look at one thing a week. I mean, it's kind of like when you go shopping, you want to buy all your shopping at once, as opposed to let's just do one thing and enjoy that and appreciate that and give my partner the message that if they make one small change, oh, what a difference it makes in your life, as opposed to, and I guess I'll end with another funny story, which is one of the things my wife wanted to change about me is I used to take off my t-shirt. I sleep with a t-shirt at night. I take off my t-shirt and put on a new t-shirt in the morning. So the t-shirt would come off where I get a new t-shirt and I bring it toward the shower. Okay, so I would leave these little piles of t-shirts on the floor in front of the drawer. And I wasn't aware of it. I would just take off my t-shirt and get another one. Okay, so and the dirty clothes hamper was only 3 feet away in another little closet area. And so my wife would tell me over and over, you forgot to put up the t-shirt, and I'm always picking up your t-shirt, can't you just, instead of putting it down here, 3 feet away, put it into the hamper, okay? She just couldn't understand why I couldn't make that little adjustment. I said, okay, I'll try, honey, I'll try. And I couldn't do it. I would keep leaving. I would just forget. That was all. It just wasn't in my, I go from one thing to the next, okay, and just drop that. So the way she fixed this and changed me was she said, she waited. What I told her is just let the pile build up and then I'll see it and I'll put it in the hamper. It has to be a bigger problem for me to see. Then she couldn't do that at first. She says, no, it's too messy. It's too messy. I can't do it. I said, no, you just let the pile build up. So the pile was building up and she just wanted to put it away herself. But she said, no, then I'm training him. He doesn't have to do it. So she did something even smarter. She let the pile build up a little bit. After the room was really clean, because she keeps a really clean place. She's really beautiful in that way. And she likes order and beauty and everything. So the room was looking really beautiful, except there was this pile of t-shirts. And she said to me, oh, John, would you move the t-shirts to the hamper in the nicest way? Oh, would you pick up the t-shirts in the hamper? So I said, sure, honey, I'd be happy to do that. So I moved the t-shirts to the hamper. Then this is the reaction that changed my life. Then she took a deep breath. She went, ah, look at the room, how beautiful it is now. And I go, yes, I did that. Yeah, so I got credit for the whole thing. If women could just understand, the more credit you give men, the more like motivated to do things for you. Because whenever men get credit for something, you did a good job, or that was helpful, you did this for me, it's something that bumps up his testosterone. Mm-hmm. Whenever you feel successful, testosterone goes up. It gives him more energy, more motivation. Because that's what's lacking today in men to a great extent is motivation. Not all men, but motivation to do those little things we did in the beginning, motivation to try harder to make positive changes in our life, to continue growing. And for women, the challenge is to let go of being so over-motivated. Mm-hmm. And I want this, I have to do this, we have to do this, to relax a little bit more accepting, more loving, more at peace with what you have. So these are our challenges, and communication can help us find that balance once we learn how to change our complaints and to requests, and for men to learn how to listen more to what goes on inside of women. Because there's this natural urge in women that you talked about, which is to want more. Nothing wrong with it, but it can be exaggerated to, I want perfection.
Mm.
And that's where, it's just then when you want perfection, then nothing is ever good enough. And then the world reflects that nothing is ever good enough. So you keep coming back to a place of, I want more, but I'm grateful and happy with what I have. I want more and I'm grateful and happy for what I have. And so those are like something I can do for my wife by being a good listener, by showing more affection, by the little compliments, the little things I did in the beginning, soften her to come back to her female side. And that, again, romance is all about how to communicate that she's number one, that she's special, that she's safe, that she's there. And I know our time's running out, but I just have to, you're an expert on communication, and gender understanding helps us to make a huge leap in recognizing how destructive anger is in our relationships. We have this whole world of therapy, and therapy says it's good to get your anger out, it's good to express your anger, and particularly for women who've been repressed from anger for centuries, never being able to voice themselves in disagreement with a man from an angry tone of voice, because uncivilized men become violent. If you become angry, they become angry, and you're not safe. So there needs to be the safety for women to have whatever emotion they're feeling and not to react back with the same emotion. The monkey brain has these mirror cells. If you're angry, I get angry. So to a certain extent, if I can stay centered, I don't get angry and I can be present for my partner. But if I do get angry and I'm a man, what I have to realize is paramount, most important communication skill I feel is if I'm angry to stop talking. A man, if he's angry, means that his testosterone is going down, his estrogen's going up. And this is a revelation. This is science. Science has proven this, but most people don't know it. They associate men's violence and cruelty comes from too much testosterone. It actually comes from too much estrogen.
Wow, I had no idea.
People don't know that. All negative emotion is estrogen, or positive emotion is estrogen. And when estrogen levels go up, testosterone goes down in men. Testosterone gives men confidence, gives him non-reactivity, allows him to be responsive to the situation of what will work best. Anger means he's lost confidence. Now his estrogen's going up. He will now feel the anger. Now for women, feeling anything is going to help increase their estrogen. So anger is a good thing. In therapy, we help women express their anger and so forth. But for men, they have to learn how to discipline themselves. If they're angry and they're, and now my tone of voice is changing, I'm getting angry with my partner. At that point, men become on their female side. They want to talk. If you talk when you feel anger, your anger will only increase. If you talk any emotion, if you talk, it will increase. Okay, so this is for women. If they're angry, to talk about it allows the estrogen levels to increase, and then they come back into balance and the anger goes away. But for men, that's not what happens. So for men, they just become angry. Their estrogen goes higher and higher and their testosterone goes lower. They're going further out of balance. So with that little bit of science, it says to men, do you want to be a man or a woman? This is the time for you to man up, so to speak, by not talking if you're angry, listening more. And if you can't listen and you're still feeling angry, then take a time out.
Yeah.
And this is important for men to do, also for women to understand, because usually many men will instinctively take a time out. That's called fight or flight. Flight, he will walk away so as to not continue feeling these aggressive feelings of too much estrogen. He will pull away. Most women at that point, they don't understand men. They think, oh no, we need to talk. So she will follow him and get him to talk, get him to talk. The worst thing for a man to do when he's upset is to talk. Talking is good for men when they're in balance. He can talk about what he felt, whatever, but not when he's angry. He needs to cool off. He needs to do something, underline do something that will make him feel good. That's called increases testosterone, something meaningful, something that requires skill, effort, whatever, that ideally something that's productive to help others. Could cool off a bit by playing a video game, but the video game doesn't have a sense of connection with the world, helping the world. He needs to do something that's either helping his body or helping the world. And when he does something that he's good at and meaningful, his testosterone will come back up, his estrogen will go down, he will come into balance, his heart will open. Then his job is to reflect on what happened, not before that. Then he thinks about what happened. His first reaction is, I need to take time to cool off and forget it. Forget it. That's why men are always saying to women, forget it, forget it. Because men need, you see, this is what Buddha taught. He said, meditate, empty your mind, forget all your problems. That's particularly to men. That's what the job is to forget your problems. Then when your heart is open, the next step is to reflect on what you said or did that made it worse. You might reflect on what she said or did that made it worse, that you might reflect on that, but then come back to your male side and go, and how did I contribute to that? And that softens his heart. That also teaches him how to deal with things differently in the future. And once his heart is open, he's reflected on how he contributed to the problem. He's no longer a victim of his partner. Then he can go back with more love to give to his partner and not come back to the same conversation, not bring it up, but go back and give more love and support so she can calm down and he can calm down and they can feel their connection. You never want to go right back to the thing that set you off. Okay. That's a wound. That's a bruise. You shouldn't touch that for days. Okay. You should just come back and be sweet and loving and make it safe for her to relax into it. Then whatever it was that got you upset, like discussing finances or the kids, you can do that again the next day or 2 days later. Let's talk about that again. I'll try to do it better. That's the masculine side of things, should always come from a place of accountability.
Yeah.
That's masculine energy. It's how did I contribute to the problem? What did I do wrong? Now, femininity is all about acceptance and forgiveness. So what she has to focus on in her time away, talking to a girlfriend, expressing how she feels, coming back to a balanced place, what I have to do is practice appreciating, accepting, trusting. That's the female energy, which will create a sense of forgiveness, a willingness to try again, look at it differently, and so forth. So she softens that way. He softens by taking responsibility, by he contributed to the problem. These are yin-yang balancing aspects, which dramatically give us a direction to go in communication to resolve conflict.
Absolutely. This has been so valuable, John. Thank you so much. This last story that you just told, I just experienced it last summer where there was an issue and he like needed to take space. And I was like, no, but we can like talk about it and work it out. And I'm here for you. And now I clearly see my contribution to the downward spiral and to really just allow men to have that space and understand that they just need a cooling off period where they can get back to center. And then we can come back together from a neutral place, you know, the positive, negative, and neutral mind. That's something that I learned in Kundalini yoga is like, you know, wait until you're back at the center before you approach someone. Don't do it when you're in the trigger because that's just going to take you guys down. So
loved it. I loved it. You do Kundalini yoga?
Absolutely.
Me too. I teach Kundalini yoga 50 years.
Oh my goodness.
I do meditation for like 2 or 3 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
You know, people always ask me, where did you come up with these ideas? Well, my wife would say something and do something. I go meditate, come back to center, then reflect on how did I contribute to the problem? And then I go back and try it out. And I just want to say one little thing for the men listening, which is when you come back to center, then come back to your partner and show affection. And when he comes back, what women can do when they come back is ask for something, ask for help in some little way so he can do something for her. And then she can show him that her heart is open by responding to some little thing. Oh, would you help me with this? And he says, yes. Just that will help solidify she's grounded in her female energy, feeling safe to ask for something.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a pleasure. So make sure that you pick up his new book, Beyond Mars and Venus, Relationship Skills for Today's Complex World. You can do that at marsvenus.com. John's got so much great work out there, and I'm really honored to have you on. And I think this will be like our special bonus video that really gets a lot of info to our listeners. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you to all of our listeners. And yeah, I'm just super honored and blessed that we're here together. And thank you, John, and have a beautiful rest of your day. And thank you for everything that you contribute to helping humans, you know, communicate better and understand each other. And I'm really looking forward to reading your new book.
Thank you so much. What a great interview. I appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely. All right. Bye.